GCN tours the Keystone State, taking you inside Pennsylvania's factories, museums, and historical sites.
Welcome to Bluett Brothers Violins. My name is Mark Bluett, and I'm the owner of the shop, and we were established in 1984. And what I am is a luthier, and a luthier is a maker of stringed instruments, and my forte is the carved instruments, such as the violin and the mandolin family. So in a little while, I'll be showing you some of the work I do, and be able to show you what an individual maker can do. Well, what I wanted to get across this morning is what I start with, and the most important part of starting an instrument is the wood that you use. And this is a piece of spruce that's been air drying since 1967. Now, when you're making a carved instrument, the main part of picking the wood is, besides its age, is getting a very fine grain where it will go together, where the bridge will withstand the pressure, and flaring out as far as it can so you can get the nice low, deep sound that an instrument produces. Now this piece of spruce is what's going to be a book match. I will saw this down, and you can see that it's a quarter saw, and you can see the grain coming across. And that makes for strength, any pressure put on there as for the strength, because sideways, this is a very soft piece of wood and will vibrate very, very much. Lengthwise, it's one of the strongest woods. It'll take more pressure than things like rock maple and things like that. So what I'm going to do is cut this down the center, and I've already done that with this piece right here, and do what's called a book match. What I do is saw it down the center and fold it out. Now what that does is keeps all the tight grain in the center for the bridge of the violin, and flares out so that it can take that pressure. And it also vibrates the same on both sides. So we've got the piece of wood, and it's going to vibrate on each side, and the bridge will go about right here. Now, like I was talking about air drying, and air drying is very important to me. This piece has been drying since 1967. This back on the violin is a maple back, and this has been drying for 97 years. So when I use the air-dried wood, I know that the wood has moved all that it's going to move, because I'm carving these instruments very thin in places. And if it's a kiln-dried wood or not dried well enough, it'll move around and either cause cracking or warping in the wood. So when we have the best wood we possibly can, we know that we're going to end up with the best possible instrument we can possibly make. The next part is learning how to read the wood. And the way to do that is when I start to carve out the shape of the instrument, the first thing I do to an instrument, and my apprentice, I stress this with people, is to learn what has a tap tone. And you hold it like this, and you tap the wood, and you can hear a tone, okay? And that's what that tone is what this piece of wood can produce. I'm not saying it's a certain note. I don't aim for a certain note. I aim for the best that this piece of wood can produce, and that will make an instrument that rings out. So when I go to carving, when you start a violin, first thing you start with is the sides, and these are maple sides. It's a maple sides, back, and scroll, and you bend the wood. You get the wood. This wood right here is shaved down to 1.2 millimeters, and then you fill it in with blocks that will hold the pressure of the strings. Here are the main two blocks. This holds the neck. This holds the pressure of the strings. And then small blocks of wood that will be carved to fit the shape of the instrument in just a little while. Now it stays in the mold. This is a mold that I made out of plywood so that it doesn't rock back and forth and doesn't move and doesn't crack. And it'll stay in this mold until I have the back glued on. And that's what I'm doing right here. And you can see how once you get the back on, you can smooth out the top to perfectly smooth, because what you don't want to do is, on a lot of violins, the problem is once you put the top on, they come apart at the seams. So it's imperative to make it completely flat. Okay, and once you have this on, then I'm pretty much ready for a top, except for carving the blocks to fit the contour of the instrument. And you can see how the spruce grain is going straight up and down. That makes it very easy to carve the blocks straight up and down. And like I said, this is a curly maple piece that's been drying quite a bit. Then once you carve the back, it's in order to stave off any kind of cracks or anything like that, you use what's called purfling, which is two different kinds of wood. The black line, a lot of people don't realize